Welcome to the Top Dog Mindset Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of running a successful dog training business. I'm your host, Kevin, joined by my co-host, Angel. Together, we bring you expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical tips. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to provide you with the necessary information to build a thriving dog training company. So relax, join us with a cup of coffee as we explore the Top Dog Mindset Podcast.
All right, welcome in everybody to another episode of the Top Dog Mindset Podcast. How you doing today? What's going on?
I'm doing really good. Fridays are always, well, I shouldn't say Fridays specifically, but like podcast episode recording days are always really good days. I don't know about you, but like, because I feel like you have to set like a different tone for it. So I always make like a little extra effort to have like a really good morning so I can make sure I'm in a good mood and ready to show my face and whatnot. So I got my coffee and it's been good so far. How are you?
I'm good. What is your ideal morning? What does your ideal day look like to you to like start off?
Waking up, okay, so I shouldn't say my ideal morning is waking up really early because I don't like waking up really early, but also like I know it makes me feel good. So yeah, waking up early when it's still kind of dark out so I can like work out and just have time by myself to do things without feeling like I'm in a rush to get ready for my day. Granted, today I did not wake up early because I was really tired, so I kept pressing snooze, but that's okay.
What is really early to you? What is like really, really early for you?
Well, I wake up at like 6. It could be earlier, it could be worse, but it's still a little bit painful.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really good time to start the day though. I mean, you're up before your kids at that point, right?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I like that. Being able to like work out, take care of the dogs, do my thing, make my
Yeah.
coffee, just be by myself because after that it's just like go, go, go all day, not by myself all day. Yeah, I used to have that time to myself like later in the evening and I kind of started like forcing myself to do it in the morning, especially once we made like our big move because I'm like I need this, like I need to prioritize being able to just have me time. And I've realized how much it's like really helped me. So every morning, even when I don't want to wake up super early, I just pretty much like force myself. At that point, I'm just like getting by with discipline, not doing it because I actually want to. But yeah, it makes me feel good.
Well, that's the only thing I've found in the mornings is like some people talk about like waking up and being crazy motivated and just can't wait to get started. I just never feel that way in the morning. Obviously, there's like certain times in my life where like I'm super excited, but I'm, just by nature, like not a morning person. So I just think that the only thing that really works is just discipline and just telling yourself, the night before, I'm getting up tomorrow morning. I'm not going to hit snooze. I'm going to actually just stay up and go get a cup of coffee. And yeah, it's one of those things that like, it's so easy to say, but when you don't do it and you start the day later, you're just starting behind. And it's like always, you just feel like you're spending the entire day playing catch up,
Yeah, and like I've had enough of those days where I've decided to like skip my alarm, skip getting up early, skip working out and just sleeping as long as I can until like I got to get up with my kids and it just like it changes the whole tone and my mood for the whole day. So I've had enough of those to be able to remember that in the morning. And I'm like, I don't want to have one of those days. I'm going to end up regretting it later and just wish I would have gotten my butt up and did what I had to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I always love when, sometimes you'll post on your story and stuff like you working out in the morning or whatever. It always fires me up seeing that when there's like a dude or a chick who's like up and they post it on their story at like 5 a.m. But they were like deadlifting or squatting. I'm like, wow, How
Yeah.
do you
I
just
actually,
flex on all of us like that,
no, I like seeing that too. I mean, whether someone is posting about working out or not, just seeing someone post on their story, especially if it's just like a picture of them and they're like fully dressed, fully ready, like out the door already. And I'm like, damn. And I'm like still over here struggling to get out of bed. And you're
Yeah.
already like halfway done with your day. It's like 7 in the morning.
Yeah, it's like going on like a trip with your friends, and like there's that one person who just hits like a 7 mile run before anyone wakes up, and everyone's like hungover and stuff. It's the
Yeah.
ultimate flex. Like when you can do
Yeah.
that to other people around you. Yeah, but I yeah, just in general, like I post some stuff on my story just because of like, just a picture of like my squat rack and stuff. Because for me, and this, I hope this doesn't come across as kind of self-serving or anything like that. But to me, I do that because I'm like, I don't know who else might benefit from seeing that, because I benefit from seeing stuff like that.
Mhm.
I actually reached out to one of my old friends from college, my friend Bobby, who really got me into like fitness in my 20s and lifting and stuff like that. And since we're the same age, we're kind of like on a very similar just life trajectory. Got
Mhm.
married around the same time, started having kids around the same time. And I saw him do a post probably close to 9 months to a year ago of him after he had fallen off from lifting and fallen off from really like nutrition and stuff like that, and got back into it, and took a picture of himself where he had lost like a substantial amount of weight and had really gotten into good shape again. And he talked about how uh, there was a period in his life where he just had like almost in a weird way like given up the idea of like ever being in shape again. He just kind of like was like, I
Mm.
accepted the fact of, hey, that was a part of my life where I once was in shape and now I'm a dad, or I'm kind of like speculating as to what he was feeling, and kind of like imposing or putting like my own thoughts on this, because I really related to the post of just kind of like feeling like that was a part of my life, but I don't necessarily have time for that. I don't
Mhm.
feel like I'll ever get back to that. That requires so much work and effort to get there. Can I apply that much, effort to that, to working out again, and just, tracking my food and really being on top of that type of stuff. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks when he said something like that. And it really resonated with me. Like, he was able to lose whatever, 30, 40, 50 pounds, get back in great shape. And that, with him saying that, like I didn't even fully articulate that to myself, but that was the emotion that I was feeling of,
Mhm.
kind of like a little bit of helplessness or something like that, where I was like, I know this is what I want, but I just feel like I'll never get back there.
Yeah.
And so I think the point is you never really know who you're influencing by posting stuff like that. You think that,
Yeah.
should I post this? Should I not? Is it kind of cringy? Is this going to really help anybody? But yeah, you just never really know. I mean, I've had people say things to me. We have a client, Aaron, really cool dude, and he posted just a picture of him with his dogs in his garage in the cold, just lifting. And I messaged him. I was like, dude, this gets me fired up. Like, this is badass. And then he sent a message back to me. He's like, appreciate you saying that. Wouldn't have this stuff if it weren't for you guys, and the marketing you've done for me. I mean, his business has transformed over the last couple of months. So yeah, it's just really cool seeing stuff like that.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that too. I think a lot of people can for a lot of different things, of course, in this case, like fitness and like your health and stuff like that. And that a lot of the time is the reason why people never get started in the first place, is because
Yep.
they're like, it's going to take too long to get there, or it's going to be too hard, or, whatever it is, which, yeah, it is, but nothing's going to happen at all if you don't try or don't start at some point.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Now we have a interesting topic for today's conversation. Angel, why don't you lay that out for everybody? Because you've told me 5 times now, and I keep blanking on the topic.
The topic today is why being good with dogs isn't enough anymore.
Okay, and why is it that being good with dogs is not enough anymore?
Well, I mean, a little backstory into my thought process is that a lot of the time people get into the business of dog training because they are good with dogs. Like it comes natural to them. It's something that they're passionate about. Maybe they worked with another dog training company, love what they do, and realize like, okay, maybe I can just start my own company and make more money without realizing like how much more goes into it on the business side. Or I've even heard people say like, I got into dog training because I don't like people, because I don't like dealing with people. Like I've even heard like doctors and stuff like that say stuff, but like you have to deal with people more than ever. And especially with running a business, like you are the head of everything. So you're going to have to deal with people more than you're even dealing with dogs. And I feel like all of that kind of goes without saying, but I think it would be a good topic to touch on.
That exists in every business. I mean, I could say the same thing for the digital marketing world, right? The reason I got into
Mhm.
digital marketing is because I like looking at numbers and tinkering with landing pages and ad accounts. I don't really like talking to people. I just kind
Mhm.
of like the technical side of things. That exists in every industry, in every, yeah, just every industry across the board.
Yeah.
And I think every industry effectively requires you to deal with people, whether or not you would like to or not, you
Yes.
know? So I just think that it's a non-negotiable is being able to clearly communicate and be able to talk to people. Yeah, I mean, if we really boil that down, it's like for a lot of people, why don't you like people? Why don't you like talking to them? I think a lot of times it just comes from a place of fear. And I know that like, Angel, you and I have spoken on that many times. I mean, why don't you talk about that? I mean, where do you think that fear originates from for people and like why they don't like speaking with people and why they just kind of want to, just work with the dogs, quote unquote?
I mean, with obviously with like human beings, you're dealing with so many different types of people, different personality, people who, even some people who naturally are like right off the bat more combative than others, that can get exhausting. And even in my position, like I love our clients, I love what I do, I love the conversations that I have with people, and always have great conversations with people. But at the same time, like talking to people all day, like it can feel exhausting at the end of the day, just in and of itself. Now, imagine dealing with like people in the public, not just our clients, but like just like random people in the public who you're having to like talk to them on the phone. And not only that, but like go through the whole sales process, convince them to give you like hundreds and or even thousands of dollars for this service. Like there's so many things that go into it. And like in my case, when this was like obviously very early on, we've talked a lot about how I overcame that with like my whole consultation process and just getting better with like talking to people is sometimes you go in with this plan of like, this is what I'm going to say. You basically have like this script memorized in your head of like, these are all the things that I need to get through. But the moment that someone asks you a question that you weren't prepared for, or, gives you an objection that maybe you never even thought of, and then you actually have to like think outside of the box and have a response to that. Like that just takes more effort. It's harder. It can cause like nervousness and anxiety and stuff like that. So all of those things combined, that can be scary with having to talk to people, especially in this case, dealing with people's dogs who are like their family and can be very, very picky about certain things. That too, some dog owners are very overbearing,
Mhm.
you know? And so it's like I've dealt with that too, feeling like you're walking on eggshells when you have a certain dog in your care just based on how their owner is acting. So,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and being that you're somebody who kind of like overcame social anxiety, because I think that's kind of what that is, being fearful to talk to people or, letting your mind kind of run wild of what if they ask me a question I don't know the answer to? What if I fumble over my words? What if I just randomly throw up on myself? There's a lot of different things that like I think goes through people's like minds with stuff like that. So like what did you find to be most helpful? I know you've shared a little bit about this, but like was it just repetitions? Was it just forcing yourself into uncomfortable situations or what was it for you?
yeah, it was. I mean, it was, yeah, a few different things. Definitely forcing myself into uncomfortable situations because I still to this day do that and am like very mindful of that and will literally tell myself, like, this is going to be uncomfortable. Maybe not even excited or happy that I'm doing this right now, but I know that by doing it, I'm going to be overcoming something. You know what I mean? And like
Yes.
I would always used to always tell my clients with their dogs, like you have to kind of like make them comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. And so I do the same thing with myself. But very, very early on, I learned about what was it called? Like body language mirroring or something like that. Is that the right?
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
Yeah, so I learned about that. So I started like researching it and like figuring out like how do I do that? Because that, I feel like it's like an art form in itself because it was like more specifically when I'm in consultation. So like going through that sales process. So I literally started like researching how to just be better with talking with people Like, not just how can I get better at sales, literally, how can I get better and seem more of a natural and confident when I'm talking to people, especially when it's some random person who just called because they need a service. Like, I don't know them, I don't know anything about them, but all of a sudden I'm going to their house and I have to like know what I'm talking about and I have to sound comfortable doing it or sound confident doing it. So yeah, literally just started like researching it, like watching videos and felt a little, not a little, felt super uncomfortable in the beginning. And I felt a little cringy because some of the stuff I'm like, I'm doing the literal exact thing that I just saw on this video. It might not like look natural, but I just got to do it to start getting used to it and having it be part of like my normal way of interacting with people. Uh, I can try because that was literally like, that was almost 10 to 15 years ago that I was doing that. Okay, it was like, so for an example, I remember like one of the things I learned about was something having to do with like asking questions. Yeah, I can't remember like in detail, but something as simple as just like asking more questions in a conversation. So like I said before, I would kind of have like this all of this memorized information in my head of what I need to get across to this person and the questions that I need to ask them in order to know what I need to know to then sell whatever program they need for their dog. And so it was just like very to the point, just answer these questions, give me the information, I'll give you this information, and that's that. So just based on that, there's not a whole lot of rapport building and relationship building. It's just very much like, okay, you need a service, let me figure out what you need, and the rest is transactional. So it's just learning about like how to build rapport more, asking more questions, even if, I didn't, not to like sound rude, but even if it was something that I truly didn't care that much about and was completely irrelevant to selling a certain program, like asking questions like that, asking questions about their dog that maybe I already knew the answers to, but it was just for the sake of like getting more information out of them and also having them be able to verbalize things and help it come to light for them because maybe it's something they didn't realize what was going on. But yeah, just like prying a little bit more with little things because when you could ask like one small simple question and then you guys are just like bouncing back and forth and that is like a little conversation in and of itself. And so you
Yeah.
just keep doing that. It just like helps grow the conversation. You're building rapport and it just goes from there. So that's like one little thing that I remember, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's super helpful. I think a big part of that is people, as you know, the age old saying goes in sales, people buy from people that they feel like they know, like, and trust.
Mhm.
And who are people that you feel like you know, like, and trust? You only give those types of people personal information about you. And you feel
Mhm.
like somebody only knows you or you only know them if you kind of like know them on a deeper level than like just the name, their first name and the name of their company, right? And you would only give personal information about yourself to somebody that you trust. So you kind of like create this like fast bond, not by doing a lot of talking at them, but by doing a lot of listening and asking them a lot of questions. And so I think for anybody listening to this, this is something that can actually take a lot of weight off your shoulders. I think a lot of times people have this misconception about sales, and this is what makes it kind of feel a little bit sleazy and weird, is that you got to be really charismatic and gregarious and fast talking and persuasive and all that stuff. And that's not really the case. I think that's kind of like a really that's like a caricature of what a good salesman looks like.
Mhm.
Whereas I think what a really good salesperson looks like is somebody who knows how to ask the right questions and then kind of close their mouth and let the other person do the talking. Because if you
Yeah.
ask the right questions, they do a lot of self-selling. And
Mhm.
if you talk to somebody for an hour and you ask them questions and then they kind of give you a response and then you validate their feelings and kind of like expand on that, it makes them feel like, because you are talking about them and keeping the topic on them, which is infinitely more important than, let me tell you why John's dog training is the best company and here's why we're better than everybody else. Like, no one gives a shit. No one cares
Yeah.
about you. They care about themselves and they care about their individual problem and how you can help them. And so
Yeah.
that should be something that takes a big burden off of your shoulders, is you don't need to do a lot of talking. You can actually go in there and introduce yourself, and just kind of get right down to business with them after you exchange the pleasantries and, compliment on them on their house or whatever it may be, like we've talked about on this podcast before. I'm not
Mhm.
saying skip over that stuff, but just start asking them questions about them. Take a deep
Mhm.
breath and just say, so tell me all about you. Like, tell me what's going on. Tell me your life story, and just get them talking and just ask them more and more questions. How does that make you feel? Why is it important for you to get that fixed? What happens if that doesn't get fixed?
Yeah.
And you just make it all about them, and it should be all about them. It's not about you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That reminded me of something that happened like years ago. A quick story I'll tell. So had to have been like 10-ish years ago, 10 and a half years ago, because it was when, like, right after I had my daughter. She was like brand new. And this guy came to my door and he worked for like some water company that sells like whole house systems where it's like a water softener and water filtration system, has like the reverse osmosis stuff and whatever. And he was doing like door to door sales, came to my door, and like right off the bat, he was very friendly, made a comment about like something. I don't remember what it was, but made a comment about something like as a way to build rapport, and asked if he could like test our water to, show us what was going on or whatever. And so I invited him in. Like, that was the first thing, is like he was just a very friendly person and just wanted to test our water. So let him in. He did the whole testing. I didn't realize he was like selling what he was selling until he got to that part. But he's in my house. He like does a whole like water testing. We had like really hard water, I guess. And so he's like telling me about that. But the whole time he's like asking personal questions, nothing, uncomfortable, just building rapport. We're having like a really good conversation, really nice guy. But yeah, then once I learned that I had really hard water, he's like teaching me about that. But he was asking questions about like, basically, it was like my daughter was brought up, right? So, like, how hard water can affect your skin and different things like that. I won't go like super in detail about it, but he basically like did a really good job of bringing those things up and incorporating like my personal life and my brand new baby into like my water that I had in the house. And anyways, he did a fantastic job. And random guy that knocked on my door did end up selling us an entire home water filtration system that was thousands and thousands of dollars that I was not looking for or planning on ever
Yeah.
getting ever in my lifetime. And then all of a sudden I was like, I need this. Thank you for coming to my door. I need a water softener. I need reverse osmosis water filter. And yeah.
Yeah. No, totally. Totally. I just think yeah, it's people who make you feel comfortable, people who feel familiar. That's a big
Yeah.
part of it, is like, how familiar does this person feel to me? And
Mhm.
yeah, I've said this many times on this podcast, that this is the exact reason why we're able to take the 19-year-old guy or girl who is just kind of getting started in their dog training career, and they're able to go out and start making 10, 20, $30,000 a month,
Mhm.
because they're just really nice and really easy to talk to and really kind and helpful. And on the reverse side of things, I've unfortunately worked with people in the past who are really skilled dog trainers, really talented people, but nobody wants to work with them because they're so
Mhm.
abrasive and a little bit jaded by the industry and stuff like that. And I just think that you never grow beyond whoever your next client is, and like needing to meet them at the level that they're at.
Yeah.
You can start to, and I've fallen into this trap before too. It's like, can I just make this easier? Can I just like have people like, shouldn't people know by now that I can help them? And, we do a great job and we have reviews and all these client testimonials, and people should just go to this page and sign up and stuff like that. And the reason that I just don't think that works is because it completely strips everything of of its humanity and everyone of their humanity and their personal experience. Everybody
Mhm.
thinks that they're an individual, unique snowflake and they need to be like handled delicately. And, I know that you've trained a million dogs, but my dog is different. My situation is different or my business is different. And so you just need to, in my opinion, just recognize that and just be willing to have that conversation with people and just build that connection. As soon as you start trying to rush that, it just doesn't work, you know?
Yeah. And like having automations in place or like utilizing AI in your business and all that kind of stuff, like it can be really helpful. But I think that like you just have to be mindful of only using it to an extent because you still have to take into consideration like what the consumer is looking for. Like there's so many people who are so fed up with AI and automated systems. I think everyone has been in the situation of calling somewhere and just screaming at the phone to get, talk with a human or a
Yep.
representative or something like that. So, as a business owner, is it really helpful? Yes. And like there's even some stuff that we have set up for our clients or recommend that help automate things, or like I said, utilize certain AI with certain things. But again, you still at the same time have to be mindful of like what your clients are looking for so it doesn't like take away that experience for them, especially in this industry where people treat their dogs like their family, like they can get very emotional over it or when they're looking for training, it could be during a time that they've reached that their very last straw with their dog and they need someone to talk to. They need a human being to talk to. They need someone to answer the phone right away and hear what's going on and be told that you don't have the worst dog in the world and we can help you. And I would love to come out and meet you and see what's going on and see what we can do to help you.
And yeah, and I think where this conversation originated from, going back to the original topic of why being a good dog trainer isn't enough anymore is because there's, as we all know, depending on where you are in the country, there's a lot of people who have gotten into this industry. I think COVID was kind of like a gold rush for people to get into the dog training world, and there's a lot more competition now than there used to be. And so, what I always think about is if you really want to serve your highest purpose. And for most dog trainers, what that is to help as many people and to save as many dogs and help as many dogs as possible. Then by not paying attention to these other parts of your business and doing your best to get people in and make sure that they train with you, then you're really not doing everything that you can to really help people.
Mhm.
By just being like, I'm not a people person, it's like, okay, well, then what's going to happen is they're going to go to the other trainer who is a people person, but maybe they just aren't as good and skilled of a trainer as you are, and they don't get the results that they should have gotten. So
Yeah.
that's what I always think about with this is like you do kind of have a moral responsibility to be able to skillfully get people into your programs if you can genuinely make life-changing impacts on them and their dogs training.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I feel like also, in those situations where maybe you end up having a client who is a little needy or a little bit of a pain in the ass, or they like you train their dog, let's say in a board and train, and then send them home and they start struggling with something. Like there are some clients who are going to get upset by that and be like, did you train my dog and blah, blah, blah. At that point, I feel like it's so much easier to navigate those issues with that client and have those difficult conversations when you've already established a good relationship with them. But when you have
100%.
no relationship with them and it's just like, completely transactional and you kind of just got lucky by them just really needing training and having the money in that moment and willing to go ahead and sign up, that's not where the relationship ends. You're going to be with this person for a very, very long time. So it's going to be easier to navigate, certain struggles that they might be facing when you already have that good relationship established.
Yeah, and I just had this thought too when you were talking before. It kind of reminded me of I had a conversation with somebody recently, and we were talking about the idea of going to another dog training seminar. And this person is a really skilled dog trainer. I know them very well, and I know that like they get great results for their clients, and I know that there's other trainers in the dog training world that respect them, and they have gone to like multiple seminars and walked away over the past like year or two being like, I thought it was gonna be kind of something different than it was. I don't really feel like I took that much away from it, but I guess at the very least, like it validated that maybe I already am on the right track and kind of already know the information and stuff like that. And by no means am I coming across here that like there's nothing else to be learned and as long as you can train a dog, then just go and focus all your skills on becoming the best business person and make the most amount of money possible. I'm not saying that. Like, I still take courses on marketing all the time because it's an ever evolving thing. There's always new information coming out. Dog training is very similar to that, right? If there's
Mm-hmm.
something out there to be learned, go and learn it, right? Because the better results you can give to your clients, the happier they're going to be, the more they're going to want to refer you. All of that is true. But what I think it can be is a gigantic illusion and a really good waste of time that convinces you that you're being productive is constantly going to new seminars. How many seminars do you need to go to about leash skills and stuff like that, or even like behavior modification for certain trainers? It's like if you're setting yourself a budget for like education in your business, it shouldn't only be going just to the dog training side of things. Like, people will very quickly drop thousands of dollars on how do I, you know, go into a new like dog training seminar, but they would look at going and working with a sales coach. Like, I'm not spending that much money on something like that. It's like,
Yeah.
why? One of them is going to have a way more profound impact on your life. One of them is going to give you the skill set to become a millionaire. The other one is going to help you become a better dog trainer. And again, I'm not saying that's not important. Of course it's important. But if you're delivering good results to your clients and you're not lacking in that department, but you are lacking in the other department, you may need to invest some of your money into getting better at that other one. And then once you have that figured out, you'll be able to make any amount of money you want to make to go to as many dog training seminars as you could possibly attend each year.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that a lot of times too, people can go to endless amounts of seminars because they don't know what else to do with their time. And it's like a really good way to convince yourself that I'm being productive is like, oh, well, I'm going away to learn more about training dogs, where it's like, you're already really good at training dogs. What you need to
Mm-hmm.
get better at is learning how to run a business and get more clients in so you can actually help more people. It's
Yeah.
not any good to be this incredibly well, educated dog trainer if you're not actually getting clients to actually put it into practice with. You know? It's like
Yep.
reading a bunch of business books, or it's like reading a bunch of really good, motivating self-help books and not actually doing anything with the information. There's a
Yeah.
term for that. It's kind of crude. I'm not going to say it again. I think I said it a couple months ago on a podcast here. You can go back and revisit that if you want to. Um, but anyway, Angel, what are
I
your thoughts on
remember.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. I think bottom line is like, and by the way, there are lots and lots of resources for all of this kind of stuff on also YouTube.
Hmm.
Paying for a really good course is going to be super super beneficial for you. Especially if you're budgeting for something like that, to invest in a really good like sales course or something like that. Skipping one training seminar, but also keep in mind like there's a lot of information out there on YouTube that you just have to like put in the effort to look into, even if you think you are the like best salesperson
The
out there.
cat's meow is what you were looking for.
That was literally the phrase I was looking for, so thank you. But
Anytime.
also I think like bottom line is just being open-minded, being I would say self-aware also, but if you have, let's say, a coach or even someone who, like a trainer that maybe works with you or something like that, and there are concerns that are brought up, just being open minded to being like, okay, let me look into that. Let me see how I can improve that or make that better versus like, yeah, I'm already doing all of that. It's just like people don't want to pay for training. You know what I mean? Not every single person is going to buy into training, obviously, but just like being open minded to how you can better yourself as a business owner, as a salesperson, as an employer, if you have people working for you. So open
Yeah.
mindedness, I think, is a very, very important part of that.
Yeah. And some people really love sales. Some people really, study it and love consuming, podcasts about it or watching videos, and they can't wait for their next sales appointment. Other people are like, oh God, if I could get that off my plate, I'd be happy,
Hmm.
And I totally get that. But there's a lot of stuff in life that you just need to do, and just because you need to do it, and just because it's required of you, not what you want to do. And there's plenty of
Yeah.
stuff like that in the business world, and stuff like that that we have to do on a weekly basis, and that I'm like, I don't want to have this conversation. I don't want to focus on this. I just want
Mhm.
to focus on, personally, I really like sales. It's like, if I could just go talk to more people, I'd be happy with that. But there's certainly things in there that I'm like, I don't want to have to do this. But I just know that if I don't focus on those other things and level up my skills in those areas as well, then the whole thing won't work together. And
Mhm.
so that's what the whole point of this video is about, is like, being a good dog trainer is really important. That's a massive part of the equation to be successful in running a dog training business.
Mhm.
It's not the whole thing though,
Yeah.
you know? And the really amazing thing is, like, if you learn the skill set of really how to properly run a company, and you understand how to run ads and forecast and, grow a company, if anything were to ever change with the dog training industry and it were to go away overnight, right? You could go start a window cleaning company tomorrow. You could go start a lawn care company like tomorrow, like, because you
Mhm.
have the skills. Or you could go start a different business tomorrow because you understand the basic principles of client acquisition, a sales process, to get them in. You understand how to deliver a good service. You understand how to, like, intake them and onboard them as a client, and how to keep them excited. There's so many different skills that you learn along the way, but the amount of dog trainers I think that exist out there that aren't able to bring their skills to the marketplace in a really effective way because they don't have these other skills yet. I just think that, if you could just focus some of your attention on learning how to market and sell, I think you'd be much more fulfilled in your life too. And I think the other thing is, you would start falling in love with it too. It's
Mm.
really difficult to do things that you're not good at. I think that's what a lot of
Yeah.
this boils down to, is people say, like, I'm not a people person. I'm not a saleswoman. I'm not a salesman. And I think what that really means is, I'm not good at it. So it really is painful to have to do it. But once you
Yeah.
get good at doing it, it's like kind of addicting. It's a lot of fun. It's like, there's really not many more things that are more fun inside of your business than hearing the cash register ring over and over. Once you
Mhm.
learn how to do that, then you start coming up against other things in the business that are, like, way more fun problems to fix, which is like, who am I
Yeah.
going to hire to fill all the demand? But it's a really
Yeah.
painful problem for a lot of people, of, like, not knowing how to get clients.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Luckily, we know some people who know how to get clients. So if you guys are feeling like you were struggling, and you're feeling like a little bit lost in, like, your marketing, your client acquisition process, your sales process, this is exactly what we specialize in.
Mhm.
And, I don't always have a super heavy handed call to action on these podcasts, because I want to keep them very value based, and not feeling like you're constantly being sold to and stuff like that. But if you are struggling, if you feel like you need help with any of this stuff, make sure to reach out to us. I can guarantee you one thing: I'm not going to try and force you to do something you're not comfortable doing. It's just going to be a lighthearted conversation. We just got to even see if we can help you in the first place. So it's early 2026 here. No better time to, jump into something new, and kind of jumpstart your business. So with that being said, we're going to wrap the podcast up here for the day. But Angel, is there anything else you want to add to this before we end the episode for the day?
Nope, I've got nothing else.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I'm going to end things here, and we will see you guys all very soon in the next one. See you guys.
Bye, guys.